And we're starting with WWE, and as we all know by now, a lawsuit was filed this week by Janel Grant, who has accused Vince McMahon and WWE of sexual abuse and trafficking of her during her tenure. In a statement, a spokesperson for McMahon denied the claims against him, but now his tenure with WWE and TKO Group Holdings has come to an abrupt end. In a company-wide email, Nick Khan informed staff that McMahon has stepped down from his role as the executive chairman of TKO Group Holdings and will have no role going forward. He said, "I wanted to appraise you of Vince McMahon's decision to tender his resignation from his positions as the executive chairman of TKO and as a member of the TKO board of directors. He will no longer hold any responsibilities within TKO Group Holdings or WWE." Following his resignation, McMahon issued a statement reiterating his steadfast intent to vigorously refute what he termed as baseless accusations. "I stand by my previous statement that Ms. Grant's lawsuit is riddled with falsehoods, fabricated incidents that never transpired, and represents a malicious distortion of the truth. I am resolute in my determination to defend myself against these groundless charges and am eager to clear my name. Nevertheless, out of consideration for the WWE Universe, the exceptional TKO enterprise, its dedicated board members and stakeholders, partners, constituents, and all the employees and superstars who have played a pivotal role in establishing WWE as the global leader it is today, I have chosen to step down from my executive chairmanship and vacate my position on the TKO board of directors, effective immediately." The lawsuit against McMahon had already had a profound effect on WWE, as yesterday, Slim Jim, a long-term business partner, decided it'll be suspending its sponsorship deal with the company. This incident marks McMahon's second departure from WWE, the first being in July 2022 amidst the controversy surrounding hush money payments, including a payment to Ms. Grant. McMahon, who remained the majority shareholder of WWE, was able to force his way back into power by threatening to vote against any potential TV rights deals or sale of the company. Vince McMahon's resignation from both WWE and TKO Group Holdings is a significant development in the industry, and expect plenty more fallout from the stunning news of the past few days. The allegations against Vince McMahon has had the wrestling world talking, but don't expect to hear anything about the lawsuit from the superstars working for the company. The latest Wrestling Observer newsletter revealed that WWE has told its talent to avoid talking about the lawsuit and only discuss ongoing storylines or the upcoming Royal Rumble event. So Vince McMahon is gone, again, and what do those within WWE and TKO make of his second departure and reasons behind his sudden exit? According to PW Insider Elite, there was anticipation within WWE that there'd be a huge fallout from the lawsuit, especially after Slim Jim suspended their sponsorship over the allegations. With that said, McMahon's resignation happened quicker than anticipated, and there is a belief that Vince may not be the last person to depart. The idea is that Endeavor, TKO's parent company, may clean house and remove individuals closely associated with McMahon to give TKO a fresh start and move past the scandal. Employees who left when McMahon initially stepped down and returned when he regained control could be at risk, and sources state that anyone with ties to Vince might be viewed as a negative. With Dwayne Johnson's recent appointment to TKO's board of directors, there's a belief he could become the new public face of WWE, while some are hopeful for the return of Stephanie McMahon. Vince McMahon's departure from WWE and TKO Group Holdings has certainly sent shockwaves, and we'll have to see who else is caught up in the fallout of what has transpired this week. The allegations made by Janel Grant in the lawsuit are horrific to say the least, as according to the ex-employee, she was abused and used as a bargaining chip to coax wrestlers to sign. During a recent appearance on Law and Crime, and Callis, the lawyer of Miss Grant, discussed the lawsuit and why Grant remained in such a relationship. She explained, "There is a thing called trauma bonding that people who haven't studied it. I've just read articles. I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but an attorney. She literally felt caged and imprisoned by Vince McMahon. The escalation of the degrading things that happened to her, it's important for it to come out. These are facts. These are allegations that we hope to prove to be true. They are true," she said. And also explained that Grant wants to help other victims who have been in similar situations to come forward, and added that Grant wants her life back. Callis went on to say that the hope is that Grant's lawsuit will encourage other victims, if there are any, to come forward and make their voices heard. Callis said that what happened to Grant, according to the lawsuit, left her physically and mentally absolutely destroyed, and that filing the suit took tremendous courage from her. Grant was the primary caregiver for her parents when she joined WWE, so of course she needed the role, and despite the alleged actions of McMahon, she tried to conduct herself as the best employee possible. Callis went into details about how Vince and John Laurinitis cornered Janel in Laurinitis' office and sexually assaulted her, and there have been text messages presented in the lawsuit. One text message, allegedly sent by McMahon, recalls John Laurinitis wanting to have sex with her and stating that, "Baby, he's not the only one." The responding message, allegedly sent by Grant, asked for another week to get ready as she was not feeling too great at the time, but the initial messenger said that they had already made the plans. That person, allegedly McMahon, said that Johnny wants Tuesdays, before adding that he also wanted Saturdays and Thursdays, and this isn't the only message in the lawsuit. When asked on the Law and Crime show if she believes there are other victims, Callis stated that she thinks there could be other victims out there. She said, "Whether they worked in the company or not, yes, the belief is there are other victims out there. Just the way the grooming of Janel went on, it indicates that. There are a lot of indicators that there may be and probably are other victims out there. One of Janel's hopes is that by coming forward, she will give the courage of other victims to come forward too." Callis then mentioned that there are other evidences and text messages that prove that she was being trafficked and that they are building the evidence pool. Evidence being collected include, according to Grant, first-hand testimonies, and there is a plan to present this to a jury when the time is right. Callis also mentioned that TKO have not reached out to her, but Janel was fine that they acknowledged what happened to her was horrific. In a final statement, Callis said that Grant hopes any doors of secrecy have been blown off the hinges by these revelations and hopes that speaking out against harm becomes a thing of the past. McMahon continues to deny the allegations against him, but his tenure with WWE and TKO is over, and will continue to follow this developing situation for updates. Over to SmackDown, as Latin Grammy Award winner Eladio Carrion, the artist behind the new hit single RKO, appropriately introduced Randy Orton to kick off the evening's broadcast. In a rather one-dimensional promo, Orton vowed to end Roman Reigns' undisputed WWE Universal title reign at the Royal Rumble, courtesy of the RKO. AJ Styles would then interrupt, repeating his complaints about LA Knight stepping over him to get a title shot and reminding Orton of their history, providing cause for renewed tension between them. Knight would interrupt and electrify the crowd, even breaking out "dummy" in a callback to his days with TNA Wrestling. Addressing potential interference, Knight said that, "I'll hit Solo so hard he'll start doing his dad's move," before replicating the mad skills of Hall of Famer Rikishi. Knight would then walk off just in time for Styles to rock Orton with a Pele kick and stand tall to close out the segment that was commentated on by Corey Graves and Michael Cole. Cole was in the hot seat to replace the recently released Kevin Patrick, and this segment firmly solidified the idea that Styles is the closest thing to a heel when it comes to Reigns' challengers. Did it further the issues between those involved? No, but it put the focus on them ahead of Knight's main event showdown with Solo Sikoa. Carlito was hungry for revenge when he faced Santos Escobar on SmackDown, but the debuting Elektra Lopez proved to be the difference maker and spoiled the cool superstar's plans. Lopez's attack on Zelina Vega proved to be the distraction Santos Escobar needed to score a tainted victory over Carlito, whose previously injured shoulder was targeted by Escobar. This was a good match, and in addition to Lopez's arrival, also saw a brawl between Humberto, Angel, Cruz del Toro, and Joaquin Wilde, which excited the crowd. This feud has plenty of legs left as we await the return of Rey Mysterio, and Lopez will give Zelina Vega someone to battle and show she can do more than just stand ringside and cheer on her LWO allies. This was all positive, with a major development that will help enhance the overall storyline in the long run. In title action, Damage Control made good on its promise to acquire the women's tag titles, with the Kabuki Warriors Kairi Sane and Asuka defeating Katana Chance and Kayden Carter. Despite losing, this was arguably the best match in the careers of Chance or Carter, as they won over the crowd late and had them hanging on some of the more dramatic near falls. It shouldn't be a surprise that Chance and Carter thrived in the match, considering the immense talents of the two women they were working with, and the right team went over. The finish was great, and Chance took a big bump, and the big post-match celebration was the cherry on top, with the new champions getting pyro to celebrate their win. Michael Cole questioned whether Bayley would make it a clean sweep for Damage Control at the Royal Rumble, not only focusing on the faction, but also the central story in the highlight of the show to this point. Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits may have been ready to take on the newly formed Final Testament, but Karrion Kross and the Authors of Pain refused the advertised match with their rivals. Instead, the heels jumped Lashley, Ford, and Dawkins before leaving them laying in another show of dominance by the heels that intensified issues between the two sides. This wasn't the expected match, but that will happen eventually, and until then, this was effective booking that didn't water down what should be a hot contest. It was in late 2023 that Ronda Rousey shocked the wrestling world when she worked a handful of shows outside WWE, including a match for Ring of Honor programming. Rousey teamed with Marina Shafir at the ROH show to defeat ROH Women's World Champion Athena and Billy Starks, and teaming with Shafir was a huge role in her coming to ROH. That's according to Shayna Baszler, who during an interview with Denise Salcedo explained that Rousey was eager to team with Shafir, a good friend, before her wrestling career is up. Rousey didn't care where the match took place as long as she was able to team with her friend, and Baszler explained the situation as Ronda being the friend she is. The match had actually happened at the previous night's Wrestling Revolver Unreal event, but that match ended in a no contest, which was part of a deal between Revolver and Tony Khan. By having the match end in a no contest, fans at the ROH show were given a slightly different bout with a decisive winner, and that match ended with Ronda Rousey standing tall with her good friend. Not long after WWE and UFC merged into TKO Group Holdings, there was talk of collaboration between the two, and now UFC has announced a massive set of shows featuring WWE. On Saturday, February 17th, UFC will host UFC 298 in Anaheim, while Raw will also be hosted in Anaheim the following Monday, as TKO is prepared to take over Ducktown next month. Now, MJF hasn't been seen on AEW TV since his loss at World's End, and earlier this week, it was rumored that he and Tony Khan had a legitimate falling out. In an update, however, Fightful Select debunked the notion, stating that the rumors are untrue and MJF is still recovering from injuries. Barring some catastrophic miracle, MJF won't be in the Men's Royal Rumble match, despite what those who were spreading the false falling out rumors said was going to happen. MJF picked up a number of injuries during his record-long AEW World title reign and is going to be recovering for a while, and he'll be supported by AEW and Khan, despite what these false rumors claim. The Royal Rumble is mere hours away, and with the match's history of surprise returns, it's no wonder why some expect Mercedes Moné to be a part of the Women's Rumble match. When Fightful Select asked around, though, a WWE higher-up noted that they doubted Moné would return at the Rumble, as the company is not interested in contract tampering. That comment certainly suggests that Moné has signed a contract elsewhere, perhaps with AEW, as Tony Khan has often spoke about wanting to bring her in the past. As to where Moné will appear next, that remains to be seen, but it sure won't be as part of tonight's Women's Royal Rumble match, according to this WWE higher-up. 2 weeks removed from their match that was halted due to an injury, Carmelo Hayes and Austin Theory picked right up where they left off with another competitive match on SmackDown. The showdown of two of the brightest young stars on the roster, Theory picked up an underhanded victory with assistance from Grayson Waller. We have to say that even though he's still an NXT superstar, Hayes looks right at home on the main roster, though we imagined he wasn't fond of the post-match 2-on-1 beatdown. Trick Williams would emerge to make the save, and the reaction to him and the "whoop that trick" chants reflected how over he is this early into his career. Williams cleared the heels and stood tall alongside Hayes, while making it clear that he didn't make the save because they're all good, but to protect his tag partner ahead of next week's Dusty Classic semifinals match. A main roster debut and the development of one of NXT's hottest angles, this segment did everything it needed and more, and the future looks bright for all 4 men. In the main event, Solo Sikoa sought to fix the problem that was LA Knight, but before he could, AJ Styles interfered and chaos erupted, bringing the match to an abrupt end. The Phenomenal One ruined a fun and red-hot match and proceeded to further establish his heel persona before Orton made the save, using draped DDTs and RKOs to all around him. Orton appeared to be the last man standing tall ahead of the Royal Rumble until Knight delivered blunt force trauma from out of nowhere as the show came to a close. This last-second twist was expertly done and had connotations of CM Punk's return to WWE last November, as just when fans thought the show was done, WWE instantly hooked them back. This was a great example of how one highlights all of the key players while giving the impression that any of the men fighting for Reigns' undisputed WWE Universal Championship can conceivably win it. In short, this was the emphatic exclamation point that this show needed, and what the Go Home Raw before the Rumble this past Monday lacked in its main event. So that was SmackDown, and another strong edition of SmackDown at that, with just enough hype for the Royal Rumble to justify the Go Home label of the show. The show also saw an appropriate amount of progression for ongoing feuds on the Blue brand, regardless of whether they will play out on the grand stage Saturday night in Tampa. But what did you think of the show? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below.